In 1959, Ford spent over $250 million launching a car they believed would change everything. The hype was unreal. Dealerships were packed, cameras were rolling, and then people actually drove it. Within 3 years, the entire brand was dead, buried, and became the punchline of the biggest joke in automotive history. But that disaster? It's only number one on this list. Today, we're counting down 12 American cars from the golden 1950s that looked like rolling works of art that turned out to be some of the most misguided machines ever built. From vinyl roofs that fooled nobody to retractable hardtops that trapped your luggage, to luxury barges that couldn't turn a corner without a prayer, these cars prove that sometimes the shiniest dream is just an expensive nightmare waiting to happen. Stick with me till the end, because what sits at number one didn't just fail. It became a case study in how not to build a car. Let's dive in. Number 12, 1950 Ford Crestliner. Picture a post-war America hungry for something new. Ford wanted a halo car, something that would look special in the showroom and pull people in off the street. Their answer was the Crestliner, a car whose big innovation was a black vinyl roof and bold two-tone paint. It was basically a regular Tudor sedan dressed up for a costume party. The ad sold it as sporty, almost European in flavor, a car for owners who wanted something a cut above the ordinary. But once the showroom lights faded, you were left with the same old flathead V8, the same basic suspension, the same steering feel as cheaper Fords. It drove fine, but not special. Worse, that vinyl roof divided opinion fast. Some thought it looked premium, others thought it looked like someone had just glued a fake leather jacket on top of the car. When buyers compared it to rivals, there was no real mechanical advantage, no new driving experience, just a higher price for a fancier costume. The Crestliner became a symbol of a dangerous mindset, believing that if you decorate something enough, no one will notice that nothing underneath has changed. Number 11, 1951 Mercury Monterey. Now step up a level. The Mercury Monterey was supposed to be the aspirational step for buyers who wanted more flair than a basic Ford but weren't ready to jump to a Lincoln. It certainly looked the part. Long lines, generous chrome, and a presence that felt upscale for the era. It had that movie star vibe, the kind of coupe you'd expect to see outside a stylish diner with neon glowing off the paint. But then, you got behind the wheel. Under the hood, there was a flathead V8 that was good enough for cruising, but nothing that stirred the soul. The steering was heavy, the body felt oversized, and parking it could feel like trying to wedge a sofa into a tight hallway. Yes, the interior was comfortable and roomy, but so were cheaper cars from other brands. The Monterey charged you extra for image, not for engineering. It became what enthusiasts would later call a fashion car, great to look at in photos, but not the kind of machine that builds a lasting legacy. It turned heads, sure, but it didn't earn a permanent place in people's hearts. Number 10, 1959 Chevrolet El Camino. On paper, the El Camino sounded genius. Why not combine the utility of a pickup with the comfort and style of a passenger car? One vehicle that could haul lumber during the day and cruise Main Street at night. But the first-generation 1959 El Camino showed how brutally the gap between idea and execution can expose a car. Built on the full-size Impala platform, it inherited the wild late 50s styling, massive tail fins, a sweeping roofline, and low-slung proportions. It looked like a show car, not a workhorse. The bed was too small for serious hauling, the ride height too low for rough work, and as a truck, it just didn't feel tough enough. As a car, it wasn't much better. The cabin was compromised by the pickup conversion, leaving it less roomy and comfortable than a regular sedan. It ended up in an identity crisis. Not quite a truck, not quite a car, and not truly great at either. Meanwhile, Ford's Ranchero, built earlier and more clearly aimed at practical users, stole the functional side of the segment. The El Camino would eventually evolve, but that 1959 attempt was a classic example of a product that tried to please everyone and satisfied almost no one. Number 9, 1957 Lincoln Premier. If you wanted a rolling symbol of American excess in the late 50s, the Lincoln Premier was it. Close to 19 feet long and tipping the scales at over 5,000 pounds, it wasn't so much a car as an event. The design shouted for attention: dramatic chrome, a hulking front, a tall rear, and proportions that looked imposing in every direction. Park it next to almost anything else, and everything nearby suddenly looked small. But that size came at a cost. Driving a Premier through tight city streets was a constant battle. Visibility was poor, the car felt unwieldy, and maneuvering it into a parking spot felt like docking a ship. Even with a strong V8, the sheer mass made acceleration feel lazy, and fuel vanished faster than most owners cared to admit. Inside, the car was genuinely luxurious for its time-deep seats, quality materials, and lots of electric gadgets. The problem was, there was no real innovation behind the glitz. While rivals like Cadillac were pushing the boundaries with new technology and better road manners, Lincoln seemed determined to double down on size and visual swagger instead of refinement. The Premier ended up as a rolling relic of an era where bigger was assumed to be better, until reality and customer expectations caught up. Number 8, 1958 Buick Limited. Buick built its reputation on balanced, attainable luxury, but the 1958 Limited broke that formula in all the wrong ways. It was enormous, over 19 feet long, close to 5,000 pounds and drenched in chrome. Every surface seemed to have an extra strip of metal or a bit of ornamentation. It was as if the design team had been told, if it shines, bolt it on. Under the hood sat a 364 cubic inch V8, which sounded impressive. But the limited size and weight turned performance into more of a slow-motion event. Fuel economy suffered badly, often sinking into single digits. That might have been tolerable in a truly special flagship, but the Limited never justified its excesses. Inside, you got leather seating, power accessories, and a plush environment, yet it still didn't feel like a car you'd want to live with daily. It was hard to park, thirsty, and not particularly fun to drive. Competing brands were starting to pivot toward more restrained, better balanced offerings. Buick, with the Limited, went in the opposite direction and paid the price. With only around 7,400 sold before being shelved, it became a quiet warning. Sometimes, more is exactly what people don't want. Number 7, 1955 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz. In the mid-50s, Cadillac was the king of American luxury, and the Eldorado Biarritz was its glittering crown. This was the car for celebrities, high rollers, and anyone who wanted to announce their wealth before they ever stepped out. Towering tail fins, oceans of chrome, and a low, elegant two-door convertible body made it an instant head-turner. The price tag was staggering for its time, pushing well above what most families paid for their homes. Under the hood, a 33.1 cubic inch V8 producing around 270 horsepower gave it decent strength, but the Biarritz was heavy, and that weight dulled any sense of quickness. Around town, its wide body and low stance made tight streets and parking garages feel intimidating. The real disappointment, though, was what you got for your money beyond the looks. For all that cost, there was no revolutionary technology, no standout engineering breakthrough. You were paying for presence gold-toned trim, leather, and exclusivity, not for a better drive. Maintenance was a headache. The special trim and custom parts meant repairs were expensive and often slow. The Eldorado Biarritz became the emblem of buying luxury purely for image, a stunning showpiece that rarely delivered satisfaction beyond that first glance. Number 6, 1957 Ford Skyliner Retractable. If the 50s had a magic trick on wheels, it was the Ford Skyliner Retractable. At the push of a button, what looked like a solid hardtop coupe transformed into a convertible as the whole roof folded into the trunk. Crowds stopped to watch these cars perform their mechanical dance. For a while, owners were heroes of the parking lot, hitting the switch and letting the roof segments glide away. But the drama came with a lot of baggage. The system relied on 7 electric motors, multiple jacks and locks, and hundreds of feet of wiring. If everything was perfectly in sync, it worked. If just one part misbehaved, the whole roof could freeze mid-motion, leaving you stuck between coupe and convertible. On top of that, when the top was stored, it ate up almost the entire trunk. A weekend trip with luggage quickly turned into a game of what can we leave at home. The added weight of the mechanism hurt fuel economy and handling, making the Skyliner heavier and less agile than its simpler siblings. Priced higher than regular Fords, it forced buyers to decide whether that one-party trick was worth all the compromise. Many decided it wasn't. The Skyliner ended up as a brilliant engineering stunt that never found a practical audience. Number 5 to 1959 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. If you've ever wondered what happens when a car company tries to out-luxury everyone at any cost, look at the 1959 Eldorado Brougham. This wasn't just a car. It was a rolling demonstration of no limits, a starting price that rivaled the cost of a house, materials that wouldn't be out of place in a high-end apartment, fine leather wool, stainless steel, polished chrome. It even offered over-the-top extras like a built-in perfume dispenser and metal drink tumblers. Each car was hand-built. Cadillac wanted it to feel like an American answer to Rolls-Royce. But beneath all that excess lurked fragile technology. The air suspension, advanced for its day, was temperamental and prone to failure. The complex electric gadgets made service a nightmare. And once again, the colossal weight dulled performance, turning what looked like a road-going throne into something that felt lumbering and awkward in real traffic. Only 99 were produced that year. Collectors cherish them now for their rarity and spectacle, but back then, the market delivered a harsh verdict. Buyers didn't just want more everything. They wanted something that not only impressed in the driveway but also worked, day in and day out. The Broom proved that you can cross the line where luxury stops being desirable and becomes ridiculous. Number 4, 1956 Dodge Adventurer. With a name like Adventurer, expectations were sky high. Dodge wanted this car to signal performance, excitement, and a bold personality. From a distance, it absolutely looked the part. Two-tone paint, sharp lines, and bright chrome gave it a confident, sporty aura. Under the hood, things sounded promising as well. A Hemi V8 with over 300 horsepower, numbers that could stand tall in any brochure. But when owners actually drove it hard, the illusion cracked. The suspension was tuned soft, more for comfort than control. Brakes weren't up to the challenge of spirited driving. The car's weight and setup meant it cornered with a vague, floaty feel. It was like wearing racing shoes with loose laces. You could go fast, but you never really felt in command. People who bought the Adventurer expected a real rival to the Corvette or Thunderbird. Instead, they got a dressed-up cruiser that only pretended to be a sports machine. That gap between promise and reality killed its momentum. In a decade obsessed with speed and power, failing to back up your performance marketing was a fatal mistake. Number 3, 1958 Lincoln Continental Mark III. Some cars make you feel important. The 1958 Continental Mark III made you feel like you were captaining a small warship. Almost 20 feet long and weighing over 5,000 pounds, it towered over normal traffic. It came loaded with features that, on paper, sounded impressive. Power seats, power trunk, power windows, and more. Lincoln wanted it to be the ultimate statement of American luxury, a car that said, "I have arrived," long before you stepped out. The problem was, all those features were packed into a body that was heavy and overcomplicated. The blocky styling, short fins, and massive grille gave it a fortress-like appearance. On the road, that fortress feeling wasn't comforting. It was clumsy. The 430 cubic inch V8 under the hood fought against the sheer bulk and still lost, delivering poor fuel economy and only modest performance. Owners paying near top-of-the-market prices couldn't ignore that rivals offered smoother rides, better handling, and more cohesive styling. The Mark III became less a success story and more a symbol of how completely the bigger is better philosophy could run off the rails. Number 2, 1958 Edsel Pacer. If marketing alone could build a legacy, the Edsel Pacer might have been a superstar. Ford poured an astonishing amount of money into launching the Edsel brand. They teased it, hyped it, and promised something revolutionary. By the time the Pacer hit showrooms, curiosity was sky high, and then people saw it. The controversial horse collar grille instantly divided opinion, with many finding it awkward, even ugly. But the design was only the first problem. Priced around the territory of mid-level luxury, the Pacer needed to deliver a refined, trouble-free experience. Instead, it arrived with spotty build quality, temperamental electronics, and a Teletouche push-button transmission system that sounded futuristic but was fragile in real life. Buyers who took a chance often found themselves returning to the dealer for repairs, not praise. All of this happened against the backdrop of an economic slowdown when consumers were becoming more cautious about big-ticket purchases. The mismatch between Edsel's promises and the Pacer's reality became impossible to ignore. Instead of a breakout brand, Edsel turned into a cautionary tale. You cannot advertise your way out of fundamental flaws. Number 1, 1959 Edsel Ranger. At the top of this list sits a car that has become almost synonymous with failure, the 1959 Edsel Ranger. It wasn't the most expensive Edsel, nor the most dramatic looking, but it summed up everything that went wrong with the entire project. Ford imagined the Ranger as the solid, more affordable core of the Edsel lineup, the car that would anchor the brand in the mainstream. But by the time it arrived, Edsel's image was already damaged. The Ranger still wore a toned-down version of that polarizing front-end design. It still carried the baggage of overcomplicated features and quality problems. Inside, futuristic ideas like push-button controls and dome-style gauges promised a glimpse of tomorrow, yet all too often delivered glitches and repair bills. The V8 gave acceptable power, but the driving experience felt ordinary at best and disappointing at worst. Panel gaps, rattling trim, and general sloppiness made the whole car feel rushed. When the economy tightened, buyers did what they always do. They moved toward brands they trusted. The Edsel Ranger never had a chance to recover. It became the poster child for a brutal lesson. No matter how ambitious your idea or how loud your launch, if the product doesn't fundamentally work for real people, the market will show no mercy. These 12 cars weren't all ugly. Many were gorgeous. They weren't built by fools either. They were created by talented engineers and designers under massive pressure to push boundaries and outshine rivals. That pressure, combined with a culture obsessed with spectacle, led to machines that burned bright and faded fast. They remind us that a car is more than a set of lines on paper or a bold idea in a boardroom. It's something that has to live in the real world with families, with budgets, with daily commutes, and long road trips. When companies forget that, we get stories like these. Fascinating, dramatic, and expensive lessons on wheels. Now it's your turn. You've seen how each of these cars tried to reinvent the future and ended up in the history books for all the wrong reasons. Which one do you think is the most outrageous misstep? The overcomplicated Skyliner, the overluxed Broom, the confused El Camino, or the infamous Edsel Ranger? Let me know in the comments. Hit like if you enjoyed this deep dive into automotive madness, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next wild chapter from the forgotten side of car history.